Amanda Sullivan, a 26-year-old graphic designer at a marketing firm in San Antonio, Texas, had always maintained a close relationship with her older sister Rachel, despite their 4-year age difference and contrasting personalities. Rachel, 30 years old, worked as a high school counselor and had been married for 6 years to Michael Thompson, a 32-year-old construction supervisor who owned a small residential building company. The Sullivan sisters had grown up in a tight-knit family where loyalty and support among siblings were emphasized as fundamental values. Their parents, Robert and Linda Sullivan, had worked multiple jobs to provide their daughters with educational opportunities and stable middle-class lives. Amanda lived in a studio apartment in the Southtown district, approximately 15 minutes from the suburban home Rachel shared with Michael in the Stone Oak area. The proximity allowed for frequent family gatherings and maintained the close sisterly bond that had characterized their relationship since childhood. Michael Thompson had initially been welcomed enthusiastically by the Sullivan family when Rachel began dating him in 2016. His work ethic, entrepreneurial ambitions, and obvious devotion to Rachel made him an ideal match in the eyes of Rachel's parents, who viewed him as the stable provider their daughter deserved. The marriage between Rachel and Michael in 2018 had been celebrated as a perfect union, with Amanda serving as maid of honor in a ceremony attended by over 200 family members and friends. Their relationship appeared to be thriving, with Michael's construction business growing steadily and Rachel advancing in her counseling career. However, according to evidence that emerged during subsequent investigations, cracks had begun forming in Rachel and Michael's marriage during 2023. Financial pressures from economic downturns affecting the construction industry had created stress, while their unsuccessful attempts to conceive children had led to tension and disappointment for both spouses. Rachel confided in Amanda about these marital difficulties during regular sisterly conversations, sharing her frustrations about Michael's increasing moodiness and their growing emotional distance. Amanda provided supportive listening and advice, viewing her role as helping her sister navigate temporary challenges that could be resolved through communication and patience. The dynamic began shifting in early 2024 when Michael started seeking Amanda's perspective about his relationship with Rachel, initially through casual conversations during family gatherings, but gradually evolving into private phone calls and text messages where he expressed feeling misunderstood and unappreciated by his wife. Amanda found herself in the uncomfortable position of mediating between her sister and brother-in-law, receiving complaints and concerns from both sides while attempting to encourage better communication between them. Her efforts to help both Rachel and Michael understand each other's perspectives inadvertently created an emotional intimacy between Amanda and Michael that exceeded appropriate boundaries. By April 2024, Michael had begun confiding in Amanda about personal matters that went beyond his marriage to Rachel, including his childhood experiences, career anxieties, and feelings of isolation, despite being surrounded by Rachel's extended family. Amanda's empathetic responses and emotional availability provided Michael with the understanding and validation he felt was missing from his marriage. The relationship crossed into inappropriate territory when Michael began expressing romantic feelings for Amanda during their private conversations, claiming that she understood him better than Rachel ever had and suggesting that he had married the wrong sister. Amanda initially resisted these advances while attempting to redirect Michael's attention back to repairing his marriage with Rachel. However, Amanda's own personal circumstances made her vulnerable to Michael's romantic pursuit. She had recently ended a long-term relationship and was experiencing loneliness and uncertainty about her romantic future. Michael's attention and declarations of love provided emotional fulfillment that she had been missing in her personal life. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. The affair began physically in May 2024 when Amanda and Michael met privately at her apartment while Rachel was attending a weekend counseling conference in Austin. Their initial intimate encounter was followed by intense guilt and promises that the incident would never be repeated, but their emotional attachment had become too strong to resist. Over the following months, Amanda and Michael developed an elaborate system for conducting their affair while maintaining the appearance of normal family relationships. They used encrypted messaging applications, met at Amanda's apartment during Rachel's work hours, and created false explanations for their whereabouts when spending time together. The deception required constant vigilance and coordination, creating stress for both participants while deepening their emotional bond through shared secrecy. Amanda struggled with guilt about betraying Rachel's trust, while Michael felt conflicted about his continued marriage to Rachel while being in love with her sister. Digital evidence later recovered by investigators showed that Amanda and Michael exchanged over 3,400 messages between May and September 24, documenting their emotional intensity and their discussions about potentially pursuing their relationship openly, despite the devastating impact it would have on Rachel and their extended family. The messages revealed Amanda's internal conflict between her love for Michael and her loyalty to Rachel, with frequent expressions of guilt and uncertainty about their future. Michael consistently pressured Amanda to convince him to leave Rachel, arguing that their connection was too powerful to ignore and that everyone would eventually understand their decision. The situation became more complicated in August 24, when Rachel began noticing changes in both Amanda's and Michael's behavior that suggested potential problems. Amanda seemed more distant during their regular conversations, while Michael appeared distracted and less interested in working on their marriage despite Rachel's efforts to address their relationship issues. Rachel's suspicions were initially focused on the possibility that Michael might be having an affair with someone from his work environment or social circle. The idea that her own sister could be involved in such a betrayal was so unthinkable that Rachel dismissed subtle signs that might have revealed the truth about Amanda and Michael's relationship. However, Rachel's training as a counselor had taught her to recognize behavioral patterns associated with infidelity, and she began documenting instances where Michael's explanations for his whereabouts seemed implausible or contradictory. Her systematic approach to gathering evidence would eventually expose the affair between Michael and Amanda. The discovery occurred on September 14, 2024, when Rachel found text messages on Michael's phone that clearly revealed his romantic relationship with Amanda. The messages included explicit expressions of love, discussions about their physical relationship, and plans for future meetings at Amanda's apartment. Rachel's immediate reaction was shock and disbelief, followed by overwhelming rage toward both Michael and Amanda for their betrayal of her trust and their destruction of family relationships that had been central to her identity and happiness. Her confrontation with Michael that evening led to a heated argument where Michael admitted the full extent of his relationship with Amanda. Michael's response to Rachel's discovery was to claim that his relationship with Amanda had developed naturally due to Rachel's emotional unavailability and their marital problems. He argued that Amanda understood him in ways Rachel never had, and that their connection represented true love rather than mere infidelity. Rachel's confrontation with Amanda occurred the following day, when she arrived unannounced at Amanda's apartment, demanding explanations and expressing her devastation about the betrayal. Amanda's attempts to minimize the significance of her relationship with Michael only intensified Rachel's anger and sense of betrayal. The confrontation escalated when Amanda admitted that she had genuine feelings for Michael and suggested that Rachel should consider divorce to allow both couples to pursue relationships that would make them happier. Amanda's apparent lack of remorse for destroying Rachel's marriage triggered an explosive reaction from Rachel. The violence occurred when Rachel's emotional control completely broke down in response to Amanda's suggestion that the affair had been beneficial for everyone involved. Rachel attacked Amanda with a kitchen knife that she grabbed from Amanda's counter during their argument, inflicting multiple stab wounds to Amanda's chest and abdomen. The assault was brief but deadly, with Amanda suffering fatal injuries that caused rapid blood loss and death within minutes. Rachel's frenzied attack reflected her complete emotional breakdown and her desire to punish Amanda for what she perceived as the ultimate betrayal of sisterly love and trust. Following Amanda's death, where Rachel called 911 and reported that she had found her sister injured in her apartment. However, Rachel's emotional state and the obvious evidence of violence made it immediately clear to responding officers that Rachel had been involved in Amanda's death, rather than discovering her body accidentally. Rachel was arrested at the scene and initially claimed that Amanda had been attacked by an unknown intruder. However, the physical evidence, including Rachel's blood-stained clothing and the presence of her fingerprints on the murder weapon, made this explanation implausible. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more shocking true crime stories. Let us know in the comments what you think was the most tragic aspect of this family betrayal turned deadly. The investigation conducted by the San Antonio Police Department revealed the full extent of the affair between Amanda and Michael, including their extensive digital communications and the systematic deception they had practiced for months. Detective Sarah Williams noted that the case demonstrated how extramarital affairs involving family members could create particularly devastating emotional trauma. Michael Thompson's response to learning about Amanda's death was complicated grief involving loss of both his lover and his marriage to Rachel. He cooperated with the investigation while expressing remorse for his role in creating the circumstances that led to the tragedy. The Sullivan family was devastated by the loss of Amanda and Rachel's involvement in her death, struggling to understand how the close sisterly relationship they had always celebrated could have deteriorated into deadly violence. Robert and Linda Sullivan expressed feeling that they had lost both daughters simultaneously through the affair and its violent consequences. Rachel's defense strategy initially focused on arguing temporary insanity due to the extreme emotional trauma of discovering her husband's affair with her sister. Defense attorneys claimed that Rachel's mental state had been compromised by the betrayal and that her actions were not the result of premeditated murder. However, the prosecution successfully argued that Rachel's systematic discovery of the affair and her decision to confront Amanda with a weapon demonstrated sufficient planning and intent to support murder charges rather than manslaughter based on temporary emotional disturbance. The trial revealed additional details about the affair's impact on the extended Sullivan family, including the destruction of relationships between family members who chose sides in the conflict and the ongoing trauma experienced by relatives who had loved both sisters. Expert witnesses testified about the psychological effects of discovering infidelity involving family members, noting that such betrayals often trigger more intense emotional responses than affairs with strangers due to the multiple layers of trust that are violated simultaneously. The jury deliberated for 14 hours before returning a guilty verdict on charges of second-degree murder. Rachel was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison, with possibility of parole after serving the minimum sentence. Amanda Sullivan was buried following a funeral service that highlighted her artistic talents and her close relationships with family and friends prior to the affair that destroyed her life. The service was attended by hundreds of mourners who struggled to reconcile their memories of Amanda with the circumstances of her death. Michael Thompson filed for divorce from Rachel, following her conviction, and relocated to another city to escape the ongoing media attention and community judgment about his role in the family tragedy. He has maintained a low profile while attempting to rebuild his construction business in a new location. The Sullivan family home was sold following the trial, with Robert and Linda Sullivan relocating to be closer to other relatives who could provide emotional support during their continuing grief process. They have declined media interviews and requested privacy while processing their loss. Rachel Thompson is currently serving her sentence at the Dr. Lane Murray Unit in Gatesville, Texas. She has participated in counseling programs and has expressed remorse for her actions, while acknowledging that her response to the betrayal was inexcusable and destructive. The case prompted discussions about the importance of seeking professional help when discovering marital infidelity rather than attempting to resolve such situations through confrontation and violence. Mental health advocates used Rachel's case to highlight resources available for individuals experiencing extreme emotional trauma. The tragedy also sparked conversations within the community about family loyalty, forgiveness, and the importance of maintaining perspective, even when relationships are damaged by betrayal and poor decisions by loved ones. Amanda's death and Rachel's conviction remain a cautionary tale about how extramarital affairs involving family members can escalate to deadly violence when the emotional stakes are amplified by the destruction of fundamental family bonds and trust.